Hey everyone, Jennifer Lee Chan, NBC Sports Bay Area, giving you your injury update from Kyle Shanahan on Monday following the win over the Chicago Bears. Um, Iffy news for Isaac Rendo. He could be in question for playing on Thursday after a really good game. Isaac Rendo, after the game, was kind of positive about that they just took him out as a precautionary measure, but Kyle Shanahan says that he does have a foot sprain. His availability for Thursday is in question, but he will be evaluated this entire week. Worse news for Ben Bartch, who does have a high ankle sprain. He will likely go on IR. Good news, though, in his place, Aaron Banks has cleared the concussion protocol and will probably play at his place on the left side. As far as Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, those guys are still in the same kind of position that they were last week. I think the only good sign is that Nick Bosa moved up to being doubtful for Sunday's game, which means that there was some improvement. But both of those two players on a short week will be evaluated. They'll see how they feel. Practice one day, and that's Tuesday tomorrow. So we'll see how everything kind of plays out. The practice report for Tuesday will probably be more indicative of who will play on Thursday. Malik Mustafa, chest shoulder injury, he's day to day, so hopefully he will play. D Winters with an ankle injury, he is also day to day. Demetrius Fleming-Fowles, he has a knee injury, he is also day to day, and I already mentioned Aaron Banks. Good news, I think probably maybe the best news of all is that Brock Purdy is fine after being completely bent backwards on a high hit, and there probably will be a fine assessed on that along with the penalty. The high hit that kind of bent Brock Purdy backwards, it looked like just backbreaking, but he is fine after everything, and he is good to go. No reports at all from the medical staff. That's what Kyle Shanahan said, so that's a good thing. Um, one story that kind of came out last night in the locker room, Juwan Jennings said that a lot of players spoke at the team meeting on Saturday night before the game. And so Kyle Shanahan was asked about, why he asked some players to speak up. And it was interesting because players that don't normally get up in front of the team, like Brock Purdy and Deommodore Lenoir, actually got up in front and spoke. Uh, I think it's kind of even more meaningful for guys that don't speak. It's like sometimes when it's someone who speaks a lot, yes, people listen to it, like, and not taking away anything from guys like George Kittle or Fred Warner who speak a lot as leaders. They should because they are captains. But sometimes when a guy like Deommodore Lenoir gets up and speaks, people are like, oh, this is new. It kind of, it triggers some sort of, I mean, maybe stronger attention. So Kyle Shanahan was asked about it, and this is what he said. Just trying to change it up. Sometimes I'll have somebody speak differently and just to switch up the routine a little bit. But, when you ask guys to speak, you want to make sure it's guys that people truly respect and they respect how they play and how they carry themselves and how important the job is to them. Those are two guys who and we've got a number of guys like that on our team, but those two guys, I just know how much our team respects them on and off the field. So that's what Kyle Shanahan said about the guys who spoke, Deommodore Lenoir and Brock Purdy. Another interesting kind of facet to the game, the win over the Bears, is the fact that Talanoa Hufanga made his return, and he was playing next to Malik Mustafa, rookie, as opposed to Ji'Ayir Brown, who basically was who he started with all in 2023. So I asked Kyle Shanahan, how hard was it to make that decision? Why did you do that? What did you see from Talanoa Hufanga throughout the week? And Kyle Shanahan said, it's just how Malik's been playing. I think he's been playing at a high level. He's been one of our better players on defense, I think, here over the last month or so. So it's nothing against Ji'Ayir Brown. We still want him to be out there, but when we had to make a decision, we kept Mustafa out there. And so I asked a follow up. I said, hey, is Ji'Ayir Brown, I was kind of wondering if he had a sophomore slump or is he playing up to the level that he was last year? And Kyle Shanahan said, no, I think it's been the same as last year. He's playing like a good starting safety. It's just Huff's been our guy, and he's done some big things when he's been healthy, and everybody knows Huff. And Huff had a great week of practice. We wanted to get him on the field, and we had to choose one guy to sit out. So we thought Mustafa had earned that over his play the last couple months to stay out there, and we're good with our decision. So when I kind of did a little bit more of a dive into PFF, Ji'Ayir Brown has missed 9 tackles this season, and it's like, what, week 14. Last year he missed I think 6 throughout the entire season. Now, Malik Mustafa has also missed 9 tackles this year, but he's also a rookie, but he's only missed 2 in the last 6 weeks. So I think the way Malik Mustafa has been playing lately, I know Ji'Ayir Brown's hit a little bit of a struggle kind of period in his season so far. That's where the coaches decided to make the change. So interesting how all the decision making happens like that. And I did do the PFF grades for the game. And let's see, let me pull it up. Um, Dominic Puni continues to impress. He's just done such a good job at right guard. He is actually the highest graded guard with over 300 snaps. So really interesting how a guy who, wasn't a top round pick, and this past draft, the 2024 draft, was stacked with a ton of really highly graded offensive linemen. And Dominic Puni, a little bit lesser, draft notice, has been probably playing one of the best rookies. He got a 93.4 overall grade, 92.1 blocking grade, and it's the highest of any offensive lineman in the NFL so far in week 14. His 85.2 overall grade on the season ranks him third amongst guards who have played at least 300 snaps. Atlanta Falcons' Chris Lindstrom and Detroit Lions' Kevin Zeitler have higher grades. There were only a few pressures allowed. Jalen Moore had allowed 1 hit. Spencer Burford allowed 1 hurry. Dominic Puni actually allowed 2 hurries. But when I asked our PFF contact, what does that mean? How does that, he allowed 2 hurries, but his grade was still not dinged that much. So he said sometimes what it is, it's the time to pressure. So if Dominic Puni is blocking for 3 seconds before the pressure hits Brock Purdy, he's not going to get dinged as much as if it's a half a second and the pressure comes through him. So that's how they kind of grade it. So if, because honestly, offensive lineman holding a guy for 3 seconds is a lot. There's usually a holding call, holding. But if they're blocking a guy solidly for a couple seconds and then that pressure gets into Brock Purdy, or maybe they get pushed back into the quarterback, that's when they start to deduct a little bit of points, but not as much as if they just get whiffed on, like, if they whiff on a block. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Other than that, Brock Purdy had a really good graded game. He received a 90.3. It's his highest overall grade since week 3 in the loss to the Rams, and he completed 6 of his 9 attempts for 96 yards and 102 passer rating when under pressure. What was also interesting is that he had a lot of passes deep, 20 yards or more, which we have not seen in the last several weeks. He's been doing kind of ding and dunk passes. This game, they opened it up and he had a lot of deep passes, and that helped the 49ers move the ball. It also keeps the defense kind of more honest. So hopefully we see a little bit more of that in Kyle Shanahan's game planning. Uh, on the defensive side, obviously a lot of sacks for the defensive line. Yetur Gross-Matos, 3 sacks, 1 hurry. Malik Collins, 1 sack, 2 hurries. Leonard Floyd, 2 sacks. So, I mean, the defensive line got production. Now, obviously, the Bears' offensive line is not that great. So, obviously, you're going to see a lot more production from the defensive line in those types of situations. But it's a good, stepping off platform for the 49ers to have momentum going into this Rams game, which is so important. So I'll have more updates for you on Tuesday once we get the practice report, but it's a big week, short week for both teams. The Rams have to travel down. It's a pretty quick trip. But this one is the one that really matters. The 49ers, if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive, they've got to win this game on Thursday. I know we always say it's a must-win game, but really this one is. All right, so stay tuned. Let me know what you want to hear more in the comments. I try to get to all of them. Also, listen to 49ers Talk. Matt and I discuss the game and what's going to happen going forward. Listen to the podcast. And we also do those 49ers Now live shows, streaming shows throughout the week. I believe Matt is going to be back on Thursday. So we'll have the return of Matt Mayoko on the pre and post game, and we'll do the podcast, of course, this week too. All right. Hope all is well with everybody. Very happy to not have any more cold weather games unless they go to the playoffs really far away. All right. Talk to you soon.